one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty, salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community. We find the saltiest stories, the saltiest posts, those salty confessionals that we love. We put them in our mine cart, and we bring them right back up to you, our dear, dear prospectors at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm here today with my two co-hosts, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up, what up, what up?
Hey, everyone.
So before we get started, guys, you know what we got to do? We got to shout out our nice patrons.
Shout them out, shout them out.
And I'm not saying that these patrons are nice, even though they are nice, but they're nice, if you know what I mean. Like, you hear how I'm saying that with my voice? You know what I mean?
It.
I heard that, yeah.
I got
There's
you.
a subtlety there. They're at our
yeah.
nice tier. And they are Hephaestus Bolts, Prime Speaker Florian, EF Judge, and Accidental TPK. Thanks for the support, y'all.
Beep, 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 beep.
Hell yeah, thank you.
You should insert some like trumpety, like kind of like bullshit there.
I'm just going to insert you doing that.
You didn't even let me put on my trumpet sound effects.
You
but
did. I
that's
thought
fun.
it was great, man. I feel like it's been a while since the three of us have recorded an episode together. Like, for the listener, it hasn't been a really long time, but for us, it has been like 3 weeks, I feel like.
Yeah, and then before that, like another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's great.
Life
Yeah.
is challenging.
Yeah, I mostly blame Tony in this like career thing he has. It's fucking
That's super lame.
yeah. it's
Jobs are
such a
hard.
drag.
Getting married is hard. It makes scheduling bad.
Okay.
Useless, dude.
You gonna blame this on your wife? Jeez.
Wow. Yeah. Not even married a month, right?
The old ball and chain, huh, Tony?
You're holding me back from the podcast.
And you heard it correctly, folks. There's a fourth person with us today in the minecart. And today we're joined by Dan, or as they are also known, Moderately Anonymous MTG. What's up, Dan?
What's up, everybody?
Welcome.
How y'all doing?
Welcome to the mine.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
We're glad to have you. You know, keep your arms and legs inside the minecart at all times. And
I'll try.
yeah, huddle up close.
I know how much podcast listeners love visual gags, so
Yeah, they do.
I brought my prop cart with me today.
Yeah, if they like that
Good.
one, they're really going to like this one. Am I right? And then I just do nothing.
Nice.
Well, Dan, thanks for jumping on. If people don't know you, Dan has a fantastic cEDH, and you've delved into casual a lot more lately. Channel on Twitch and a channel on YouTube. But really, what originally drew me to Mod Anon was your cEDH gameplay back in the day. You had some super spicy brews. I'm a big Ponypod fan. I think about it often.
There's an amount of Ponypod fans in the world, and you could fit them all on one hand. You are one of them for sure. I appreciate that, though. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. I think you had, I forget, you had some Planeswalker in that deck that is just like such a wacky stacks piece.
I
What is
played
it?
a million of them. You're probably talking about 3-mana Gideon.
Yeah, 3-mana Gideon. So
trials?
good.
Yes,
Yeah,
down
Gideon
ticks
of
to
the
give you an
trials.
emblem that says you can't lose the
Yes.
game as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker. Yeah,
Amazing.
that was some cicada
Ridiculous.
tech, if y'all know Pedro Cicada.
I don't, but it sounds like I should. If that's the tech that I can expect. Yeah, I need to.
That deck made me come up with, I remember I was sending it to Mike. It was this birthing pod chain that ended with you having 2 Sun Titans on board. And the entire point of that was to just recur Gideon very easily every single turn. And I don't think it was good, but I just remember sending Mike like
That's a lot.
10 lines and being like, is this anything? And he was like, so you get 2 Sun Titans? And I was like, yeah.
No fucking way your opponent can deal with 2 Sun Titans.
Yeah.
I was like, where does this go?
It went from like a mana dork to 2 Sun Titans, and I felt so proud. But it doesn't win the game. It has a lot of bad slots in the deck to make that
Well, I'll
work.
tell you what, Ponypod doesn't either, so we're one and the same.
I love it. Well, Dan, We like to kick off all of our guest episodes with a little quiz, a little exam of sorts, to really make sure you're a certified prospector and that, you're allowed to hold the pickaxe, you're allowed to mine the salt. So
Are you going to quiz me about your own show?
Oh, God,
We
no.
fucking should.
that'd be wild.
We're
That'd
such
be
a
so
big
awesome.
deal that's really important. You need to know the background.
What did I open episode 1 with?
Let's see how many episodes are you a real fan?
I listened to last week's, I swear.
That would be an even cheekier one if we just quizzed you on like the most recent episode.
Well, actually, to bring up the last episode, y'all had that like person who wrote in from Reddit, right? Who said that they had been listening since the first episode, and all of you were like, bullshit, no fucking way.
Yeah. I mean, I do. We still haven't received an email of proof from that person. So
Yeah.
They're never going to send it. They're lying.
Yeah.
I think the first people that listened were us and like 3 of our friends and maybe family members. And I don't even know if that is true.
I had a friend who's asking me about starting a podcast recently, and I was like, you got to understand the amount of legwork that goes into it, because sincerely, the only people that are going to listen to it at first are like me and 3 of your other friends who you have insisted should listen to it. Like, I don't even know how you propose a podcast to the world. Y'all just went on Reddit, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Pretty
we basically just launched it on Reddit and we're like, do you guys like this? And a couple people were like, no, we don't. And we were like, oh, okay. Sorry.
Lots of those on Reddit.
Well,
Yeah.
I remember distinctly the first time I didn't listen to an episode on Spotify to get a download, and it was far in. Like,
to
I'm not
push our
saying it
own
was last
algorithm.
week or anything, but like it took a while before I was like, my download didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It was the same way with the YouTube channel, though. Like,
I bet.
so much of it came from Reddit and from different Discords until people finally actually started paying attention to it.
Yeah. If you're starting a podcast or really any content, you need to be okay with having almost no listeners or viewers for a very long amount of time, longer than you think and longer than you want. Like, you need to be cool with getting like 20 views and being like, it's been a big day.
Totally, yeah.
Huge day, even.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a grind, but we do love it. Haven't missed a week yet, which is fucking crazy. We talked about not putting an episode out on Thanksgiving, but we're still going to do it anyways.
That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Even though no one will listen on that day, we're still.
Are you kidding me? I'm going to be
it.
traveling on Thanksgiving. I'm going to listen.
Oh, there you go.
For some people, it is the day.
Like last year, we had virtually no downloads, but then it like spiked on either side.
Yeah.
Like on the Wednesday and the
Yeah.
Friday, it was like way higher than normal.
Yeah,
But there were virtually no downloads last year.
pretty much. And no one's listening to it with like grandma while they're eating stuffing and shit.
Unless they've got a super cool grandma.
Yeah.
My dad barely understands what YouTube is. There's no way I could be like, Dad, you know that thing that I do for a living? Come and listen to this.
Let me explain the mind goblin joke to you, Dad.
You see, because the flip side.
Yeah, because when I say D's nuts, I'm talking about my balls, Dad. That's the joke.
So many layers to go into.
So Dan, like I said, we do have this quiz, and we do caveat it every single time where if you fuck up, we will cut the audio.
Okay.
So, I appreciate you coming on and doing this, but the stakes are high. The stakes are very high.
To make sure you understand, though, like we'll cut all of your audio, so like you'll
Yes.
just no longer be in the episode.
I will just be
Cool.
making fart noises and waving my middle fingers at the camera for the audience at home if my mic does get cut. That's what will be happening on my
exactly.
end.
Perfect. Yeah.
Good. I appreciate that.
And since it's a video podcast, that'll all be like
Yeah,
right
it's-
front and
it's still
center.
good content.
Well, so they
for
can
us.
imagine it.
Yeah. So the first question that we have is, how did you get into Magic?
I got into Magic. It's kind of a twofold story because the first time I got Magic cards was as a child. It's a regional Northeastern store, so maybe you guys have heard of it. Newberry Comics, you know that chain?
Oh,
yeah.
I do know Newberry
Yep,
Comics,
I know Newberry Comics.
which used to be an actual legit like card shop, comic book shop
Yes.
before it just became like a Funko Pop company.
Yeah, so I was there and I saw the Magic cards on the little rotating stand or whatever, and I think it was around the time of 7th edition Apocalypse, so like right around 1999 2000, and I saw the packs and I was like, whoa, expert level, that's cool. And this art was like obviously way cooler than Pokemon. Like Pokemon
Oh, yeah.
are round and cute and
Yeah.
stuff, and these things were big, gross, like nasty monsters, and I was
Yeah.
very into that. So I had tons of Magic cards as a kid. I had my own binder that was a it was a Pokemon binder, and I scratched out the drawing of the Pokemon on it, and I wrote Magic the Gathering permanent marker on it. I still have that somewhere. If I can find it, I will send a picture of it to y'all.
I love that.
I had all of that for a ton of years, but I never learned how to play. I had like all of those, all the Pokemon cards, but I didn't know how to play any of that shit.
Purely collecting.
You're a collector.
Yes, I just thought the art was super, super cool. And then flash forward 15-ish years to when I graduated college, I was a very big fan of drinking beer and playing the game cribbage in college.
My man!
Yes.
Yeah!
All right. Well, Sam's going to have to talk.
Sam and I have already had a cribbage
great.
Yeah, we've already
conversation.
talked about
I'm
cribbage a
glad that
lot.
happened off air because that would be like 20
No, yeah,
minutes.
I've already been sold on cribbage with my grandpa, so you don't have to enjoy
Oh,
that.
hell, dude. Cribbage and Grandpa, best fucking phone game ever made. I love cribbage.
Sam's not wrong, though. But no, I love to play cribbage, and I moved in with all these crust punks, and these crust punks did not know how to play cribbage, and they're not interested in learning, but they all played Magic, and I was like, card games is card games, so whatever. We'll test it out and see what happens. And that was it. I was completely hooked on it, like, instantly. Played a lot of, like, just 60-card kitchen table Magic for a long time, but then eventually got into EDH, and wasn't too long after that I started, like, the Instagram account and all that other shit.
That's awesome.
What was that meta like, out of curiosity? I feel like we talk about our old meta a lot, and so I'm interested in what your meta was like.
It was very interesting listening to y'all talk about yours. So the one like person who played Magic in our crew was my friend Sasha, who was grinding a lot of Modern at the time. And this is when Liliana of the Veil was like at her top. I remember Sasha showing me the playset of Liliana's. She was like, I bought these for $50 a piece. And I was like, I couldn't spend $1 on a rare. That was like, I would never spend $1 on a rare. That was my limit. And I was like, you're insane. Like $50 for a Magic card? That's so dumb. So Sasha had like the battle box, or like it was a, what was this? It was I think a Return to Ravnica gift box when they did those. So the 3, I don't know if y'all remember those, but
I remember those.
Yeah, it's like
Were those like the
1,015
guild
count.
colored ones, and they had like a special coin and shit.
Yeah, we had one of those, and it was filled with like, I don't know, like 1,500-ish cards that were like bulkish, but all like more modern cards. So we were building mostly out of that. I remember my first deck was a Kiln Fiend and Delver of Secrets deck.
Nice.
Which sounds really impressive, but if you looked at the actual deck list, it had like Hypersonic Dragon and Frost Giant, because I was like, well, you need a big monster to win the game. If you don't have a big monster, you won't win. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you do need a big monster. That's fair.
That is true.
Frost Titan has Ward 2. How do you fuck with that? Doomblade, pay 2 more, idiot. I remember playing against my roommates like red-black vampires and a red-white humans deck. I had a Simic Tron deck. After the first time I played against my friend's modern Tron deck, she absolutely walled me with like a worm coil engine. So I was like, okay, so Tron is obviously cool. I put together a Tron deck and couldn't afford like the Sylvan Scryings or whatever. Those were like $5 a pop at the time. So I did, what was it? Reap and Sow, I think is the card. This is like a common from Darksteel with Entwine. 4 mana to put a land on the battlefield from your library or to destroy a land. For the Entwine is 2, I think. So yeah, I was doing that, and my top end was Simic Sky Swallower and Ulamog's Crusher were the big beefy game enders.
That's Annihilator 2, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
How are you going to deal with that?
You can't.
8 mana, 8/8 Annihilator 2.
There's
nothing
no
else.
answer. There's
You
no
can
answer
wait for me
that.
to cast Reap and Sow 3 times. You're fucked.
So when did you get into EDH and cEDH?
The transition to EDH was actually because of the Simic Tron deck in Commander, I think it was Commander 14, was the monocolored Planeswalker decks.
Yep.
And Duretti Scrap Savant had Wormcoil Engine in it, so I was like, well, I know which one I'm getting.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I think that was my first EDH deck. I remember like having a couple of different ones around that same time that my friends were like convincing me to start trying. But yeah, once I got into EDH and started going to like my local gaming store and stuff like that, I was like completely hooked on that. That was, I want to say, like 2014 to, I didn't get into cEDH until like 2018 or 19-ish. When I moved to Philly, I was trying to find a new crew of people to play Magic with, and I found Kai, Fervent Alchemist, on a Facebook
group. I love Kai.
And he was like, I'm trying to find people to play Pauper and cEDH with. And I was like, well, I don't know what cEDH is, but I have a Rasputin Dreamweaver deck that's real mean with a lot of land destruction, so that'll be fine, I'm sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Well, the second question that we like to ask people is, what makes you salty?
I thought about this a lot because there's an easy answer of like Warp World, Thieves Auction, those like 8 to 10 mana red spells, obliteration or something, the one that like
all the
exiles
good
all the
stuff.
lands and shit, like stuff like that. I'm like, I think it's my experiences with them in the past, because if I saw them now, like in my mind instantly, I'm like, no, there's cool ways to play that. But my experience of them has been people play that, they reset the game, and now we have been playing a game that already lasted 2 hours and now is going to last another 2 hours, and all my best cards are gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like I don't know, I don't really feel that way anymore, because if you follow me on Twitter, I was just tweeting about how I wanted to unban upheaval and balance in EDH like last week. So like, yeah, it's not tracking. The math doesn't math on that one. I think more so than anything is just like not being able to find a crew of people who identify with your sensibilities about playing Magic. And I think that's probably like the same thing I'm saying for the upheaval things and things like that, is like there's a very stark difference in the motivations of people who want to play Obliterate and then continue playing the game versus people who are like, I'm going to play Obliterate and then I'm going to do this combo and you're all dead. Yeah, like those are the kinds of people that I like to play with. I like people who are really keen on Magic and who are really tuned into what they're trying to do. I love to play beer and pretzels Magic too. I love to just sit around and shoot the shit and like, you know, do whatever and just play some real derpy Magic sometimes. But usually I like to be very tuned in and invested to what's going on, because Magic, like especially in 4-player, is like, it's such an investment of time. When there's even one person who is like checking their phone and just like every time they look up, they're like, how many cards did you cast? Because I have Rhystic Study. I need trigger count.
Yeah.
That stuff really, like, I was going to say gets under my skin, but that's kind of extreme too. I don't know. It does bug me though, for sure.
Yeah.
I like to play with people who are equally as invested in the game as I am.
I feel that.
It definitely is, like, I think calling out that it's a 4-person thing, having any of those people not be engaged it's immediately like the car isn't driving right. Like one of your wheels is like just lagging behind. I think that's one of the cool things that like cEDH to some extent just like naturally gets a little bit more, because you kind of can't like half-ass playing cEDH. You just like, it falls apart. It's like super embarrassing.
Again, you're just a dick. Everyone's gonna hate you.
Right.
Totally. No, that's honestly what truly brought me to it though, is like I instantly was like, okay, yeah, everyone's on the same page. And they were like, immediately I was like, people call out their Rhystic Study triggers. I like that. This is cool. Like, people paying attention to their triggers is awesome. I was playing some casual Magic with someone recently, or maybe I was editing a casual Magic episode for somebody, and one of those things came up where like it was somebody did some combat damage and 2 separate triggers went off, and one of them was to draw 1 card and one of them was to loot, and they just did it all at the same time. And I remember having so many conversations with people at the LGS being like, oh well, technically like these are 2 separate triggers, so you should draw 1 first and then loot after if you want to do that, or you can switch it because you're stacking your triggers. And then like have the other person just being like, who gives a fuck? Like
I draw 2 and I put 1 away.
Exactly. Yeah. The same thing happened, and I totally get that. Both are valid stances. I'm just on the other end of like, well, technically.
Yeah.
I also feel like you can still play a very clean game of Magic, or still have that like focus on the rules, and still be a goober and be drinking beer and like eating pretzels and chilling with your buddies. You know,
those are my favorite, because I think that's where the most novel Magic comes from, of like people who are really like, I'm going to do some shit you've never seen before because I'm really paying attention to what's going on.
Definitely. And like those casual games can be super clean. Like when people are like, oh, but I'm more of like a beer and pretzels type. And it's like, okay, but do you mean you want to chill, or do you mean you want to play a very messy and confusing game from a rules perspective? Because that's different to me.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people just want to be able to like count to 5 lands and then cast a 5-mana spell, and like that's a nice valid way of playing too. It's not always what I'm looking for though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really depends, because you know, like there's certain spaces for all of these different ways to play Magic for sure, like obviously. But I just prefer that more interactive edge of it.
And you even started by saying like what makes you a little salty is just not being able to find people that are like-minded on that. Like, so I feel like that everyone can experience, even if they do want purely the hyper casual stuff. It's like, you still want to find people that also want that to play with.
Definitely.
It's a hard thing to do, to find a pot of 4 that is like consistent and all of those things, right? Like,
totally.
I find myself fortunate to have that, but it's like, not everybody does. Hence LGS's like the existence of Friday Night Magic.
I think of it a lot like improv comedy, almost like when you play with 4 people, you're all like playing in a scene together. You're all trying to like make this narrative happen. And yeah, like if you have one member who is just like, I don't give a shit what's happening. Like, I'm so drunk right now. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's like, yeah, that's fine. And that's funny. But like, it's not necessarily what everyone is trying to do. I mean, you do have 4 people who like have a common goal, have a common desire, and like are all on the same page. And you're just like buds and you can kind of understand each other. And I think that's specifically what it is, like trying to find people that you really click with, like on a friendship level, who like really get your motivations for wanting to play Magic. That can be obviously pretty difficult, like as difficult as finding good friends in the world.
Predisposed, like well-known, difficult thing to do.
That is true.
Truly,
man. Yeah. Finding good friends, especially when you're an adult. Whew, that's a whole other conversation now. Thank God for Magic and hobbies to bring us all together, right?
True life.
Well, unless you disagree with everyone, then you have to have those weird, awkward conversations with another 30-year-old in a public setting. And it's like, oh, what's going on in my life right now?
Yeah, right.
I'm chastising a 35-year-old on their social cues.
No, this was already on the stack, actually.
Just because they wanted to draw 2, discard 1 instead.
Yeah. That's not how that resolves. See, that's a hard thing for me because I can't turn that shit off. Like I cannot disregard the rules. It's like not in my DNA. And I feel like, those people that want to play like a loose game, they could tune it up for a pod that wanted it to be at that level. I can't tune it down. I can't be like, hey, let me just not give a shit about sequencing and the phases, because that's the game.
I really bite my tongue and I'm just like, I'm pretending so hard that I don't notice what's going on in this board state right now. Shit like that. I fully dial it back because I play a lot of casual Magic with other people on their streams, and a big part of playing on streams is obviously not being a fucking dickhead, which I am. I really pretend that I'm not. And yeah, there's so many points where you're just like, nah, we're just cool and we're just chilling. I don't have this Doom Blade in my hand at all right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that to my core. Well, should we dig into some salt, guys? Should we dig into the mine?
Let's do it.
Do I get to know if I passed?
Oh, yeah, you passed. You did.
Yeah, you passed.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Glowing review.
Wouldn't that be crazy? We just move on and then we're just not reacting to what you're saying.
You make me listen back. That's a good.
We just
good
quietly
gimmick.
mute your track, and the 3 of us just keep talking.
That's one
That
free
is a good
listen when you
gimmick.
publish it later on. Me trying to figure out whether or not I got muted.
Oh, love it.
Frantically taking notes on the side.
Well, let's dive into the mine, guys.
But Sam, before we dive in, what is salt?
Oh, great question, Tony. Thank you for asking.
I try.
Salt is frustration in the game, as we like to say. And lately, we've been saying that it's really an umbrella term. We see salt as a larger category of just pure frustration. It can be everything from the small grains of just the vibe is off. Maybe someone corrected how you were stacking your draw and your rummage trigger, and it just really kind of got under your skin. Or maybe someone just keeps countering your commander, even though there's a bigger threat on the board, and you're like ready to just rip your commander in half and walk right out the door.
I thought you were going to say, or maybe it's the other side of it, where like you see someone try to do stack draw triggers incorrectly.
Yeah,
and
you're
like
watching
losing
some
your mind.
dunce put their activated abilities on the stack like a fool, and your skin is crawling.
Oh no, I'm going to be a meme forever on this show.
All the good guests are.
Yeah. And all the good guests hate people that can't stack their triggers too.
It's
so
true.
you're in good company.
Yeah. All the homies hate people that don't understand the stack. But we talk about salt so that we can learn from it and hopefully not be salty in our future games. It's really an educational show. It's really an educational podcast. All right, should we jump into this first story here?
Yeah, let's listen to one.
Fuck yeah.
So this first story comes to us from our buddy Cameron, and this is a patron post. So thanks, Cameron. Thanks for the support. And this post is titled Salty Confession Unset Edition. Those lovely unsets.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes, hello, my name is Cam, and I recently started listening to the podcast and have quickly become a huge fan. Thank you, Cam. The story comes from a group of friends that I play Commander with every Thursday. This particular evening, the players were me, Cam, on Morinfin, Life Total Manipulation, my boyfriend Andy playing Xyrus Energy, that sounds spicy, and my brother, the Salt Inducer, on his unset Karavek Chaos deck. What? And then our friend Emmett on Aloro Pillow Fort. One of these things is not like the other. I had spent the first part of the game building up defenses and lowering my life total deliberately. I played Profane Transfusion to swap my life total with the Aloro player to set them down to 2 life and make a 44/44 horror creature token. This play essentially killed them and made me the biggest threat at the table. This led to Andy and Gabe to team up on me, as it normally goes, with Gabe playing Scheming Symmetry to give him and Andy the perfect card to deal with my board state. Gabe got the salty card in question, Stop That, which is an uncard. For those unfamiliar, Stop That costs 1 black mana, is an instant, and reads target player discards a card. It has a graveyard triggered ability that can recur it when your opponent flicks their cards in their hand.
I'm gonna get my ass every time with that one.
In a 1v1, that's chill. But with multiple people, Gabe could continue to trigger the Stop That at my upkeep and deny me any future card draws for the rest of the game.
Oh my God.
In the moment, I was really salty. Even though the interaction was well placed, I ended up winning the game after knocking out Andy with the 44/44 and dismantling the Stop That engine. I took out Gabe soon after, and Gabe's Karavek deck is full of silly unset cards and is generally pretty fun to play against. We all had a good laugh at the end, so all is well. Best from Cam.
I love that cross section of this person who is playing a game that's so silly that they're going to play an undeck and a bunch of uncards, but they're looking around the table and they're saying, trigger, you're flicking your card.
So just to recap, Stop That. It's an instant, costs 1 black mana, and it says target player discards a card. And then it says gotcha. Whenever an opponent audibly flicks the cards in their hand, you may say gotcha. If you do, return Stop That from your graveyard to your hand.
That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty good. cEDH playable, I think.
I was gonna say, I love the part of playing uncards and just spiking the absolute shit out of it.
Yeah.
Looking for the most breakable uncards you can
That's
find.
wild.
I just think it's one of the most appropriately named cards I've ever.
Yes.
I'm glad that they all had fun with it because personally, this is actually something I forgot, but I fucking hate unsets so much. As a person who loves the rules of Magic and like loves having an encyclopedic knowledge of Magic, every time someone is like, I'm going to play this card that makes no sense at all, I'm like, why though?
Yeah, but please don't. Please don't. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick this one, because I feel the same way. I detest uncards. And when people are like, hey, if I built this uncommander, would you be cool playing against it? I'm the person who's kind of a bummer, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't want to play against that. No thanks.
If it's an uncommander 100% of the time, usually when people are like, I want to like do this cool rule zero commander. I don't know. I've done it with like Jim from the Spike Feeders and also Alex from the Spike Feeders plenty of times with their rule zero decks. Totally fun. I like them. Most people, I'm like, sus. I don't know. I don't. I wouldn't peg you as a Magic R&D person, so I'm gonna say sus. But okay, we'll try it out.
The thing with that is that like if someone wins with that deck, I'm salty because I'm like, well, you only won because you were playing the broken shit. You know, like that's not an earned win.
Oh, wait, do you care if it's just like casual EDH?
I mean, I would prefer to not play against it. I guess
I kind of would too, because
always.
if I was like, if I brought my deck and I was really playing and I'm like trying to pay attention to all the rules and play my best, yeah, I would that would definitely be in my mind at the end. Like, you are playing an illegal deck.
Yeah, like we had a thing where our friend Pat wanted to build a Raphaelos deck, who was banned, and he was like, would you guys be cool if I played a Raphaelos deck? I was like, I'd be cool, but I would put an asterisk on every single win that you get with it because you're playing with a banned card. So if you win, I'll be like, well, surprise, the banned card won the game, you know? So it's kind of this double-edged sword with me, and maybe I'm just king of the bummers over here, but like I just feel like every win is going to have this asterisk on it where it's like, yeah, but you're not supposed to be playing those cards. You know what I mean?
I do think there's a bit of a difference between like banned in the format cards and uncards, which are just kind of like blanket banned for like the existence of what they are. The first actual stuff that I played at all was when we were just in Salt Lake City. I did like just the draft and one round of a cube that someone had made that was uncards. And some of it was really cool. What I did find interesting was that a lot of them were things that could have been like whenever something enters the battlefield, you do something or things like that. Like they would take triggers and things that would be a normal part of interaction in a Magic card, and they would just make them be something weird.
Yeah.
So like when it comes in, if someone's wearing a hat, something happens. It's like that's a modal thing. That's like a very normal thing, conditional trigger, whatever. But it just has like a goofy condition for it. And some of that stuff I think is neat because like in some ways mechanically the card is very in line with everything else. That said, there's cards like this that are clearly not designed for Commander at all and would probably get banned. Like if it was a card printed.
That's the thing. It's like fun in isolation when everybody's doing that. When you're all playing the same thing and like it's like, okay, we're all sitting down to do this together because it's just like weird shit's happening and it's like fun. But when you just got like one person doing it, it's just like
it's like if you're showing up to like the draft or something and that is what the event is for, you're fully prepared for that to be the thing. We're all here to have this fun and silly time. Not to say that like when you play EDH with your friends, that's not a fun and silly time. But yeah, it's like it's a different thing where it, like if one person your EDH crew just shows up in a clown suit and sprays everyone in the face with a little water flower, like you weren't expecting that.
But if we coordinated a clown suit day and we all showed up and
the whipped cream pie contest,
that would be fun.
That's definitely different. I will say though, I think for me that's also a barrier to building like an undeck or a Rule Zero deck. Like there have been times where I've definitely thought about it. I think most EDH players like look at those cards and are like, oh, this could be interesting, or like, what if I just bent the rules a little bit? You know, there's some definitely really cool Rule Zero decks out there, but it always is this thing in the back of my mind where it's like, I'm going to invest the time to build that deck, play test it, buy the cards, get the cards, and then bring it to a game night and have people maybe not want to play it. It's like, it's just such an investment for something that may bum me out when people are like, I don't want to play against your weird hat deck. You're wearing 20 hats right now. And I'm like, come on.
I always do this.
I put all these hats on. You can't not let me play it.
You can't deny me with my 20 hat combo. It is an interesting one though.
How do we feel about the salt rating though on this particular post?
I feel like it's a secret sugar break to me.
Dude,
this is like very, very low salt, in my opinion.
Yeah, the person with the undeck didn't win, and they said that they all had a fun time and like laughed and shook hands or whatever at the end. So
yeah,
it's true.
At the same time, that would be the exact moment where I'd be like, "But you're doing stupid bullshit with your uncard."
Oh, I would be like, "Oh, I smoke cigarettes again. I'm going to go outside for a few minutes."
And just never come back.
Yeah. I do think that the ending is crucial because if this person established a stop that control lock on the game and then won, that would be an entirely different experience.
Be miserable.
Yeah.
Although also kind of impressive with single targeted discard.
Sure.
Just so powerful that gotcha mechanics too good.
Instant speed single target discard.
And instant speed back to hand. That's the part that's fucking blowing my mind. Like that doesn't even use the stack.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a morph effect. Like it just goes back. The art on this card is pretty sick as well.
Yeah.
I do think people should look it up. It's done up with the graphic where it looks like it's been scuffed a whole bunch from maybe somebody flicking it a bunch.
From somebody fucking flicking the card.
Yeah. So I do dig it. I dig the design. I dig it a lot, actually.
Should we Rule Zero unban this card in our pod, Sam? It seems pretty good.
Yeah, I'll play it against you.
It's only a common.
It's
only 15 cents.
Yeah,
easy.
That's great.
Easy pickup. Well, shall we saunter over to another story, y'all?
Let's saunter away.
Let's do it. All right, let's
That looks like more of a jaunt, Dan.
You can't see what I was doing with my legs. I was hitting the gritty.
Okay, fair.
You're hitting the gritty? Wow, he's literally hitting the gritty on Howling Salt My podcast. All right, this next one comes to us from someone named Sam, and it's not me, I swear. And this is a submission through our lovely website, if people don't know it, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com. We're inconsistent with the use of the, so we might as well do the same thing with our website. And the post is titled, "Does this count as a spite pact?"
Yes.
Tony, could you leave the chat?
I'm just predicting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a yes.
And the story goes, I recently had a game of webcam cEDH where my Pact of Negation caused one player to angrily disconnect. For context, I was going first on Timna Krom, second in rotation was Najeela, and fourth in rotation was Rog Silas, and the third seat was irrelevant. As we like to say, get fucked, third player.
Yeah.
Really fourth player, but I mean, they called out that
case,
the fourth person is a little bit relevant. So.
I think it's just so happens here that player 4 is sitting in the third seat. I think that's still the fourth player, though.
It is, yeah. Definitely. I had a turn 1 fish, and the Najeela player had a Samut. So we Samut? How do we say that?
That's what I say.
Had a Samut. So we both had already drawn a few cards by the time it got to the Rogsai turn 2. The Rogsai player starts playing out Thoracle Consultation, and with Consult on the stack, the rest of the table starts to discuss. I had a Pact of Negation and an offer you can't refuse in my hand, and 1 blue untapped mana. The Najeela player tells me that they have something, but it won't work unless I can put something on the stack first. I assumed that the Rogsai player wasn't just gonna raw dog the combo into 2 blue decks that both drew a bunch of cards, so I played my Pact thinking it was going to get countered. Priority goes around, and the Rogsai player has nothing. And as they are last in priority order, I can't back out of my Pact, and I cannot pay for it, and I die on my turn.
Wait, they didn't have offer?
No, they did, but they passed priority on their Pact.
Oh, right. You would have to hold. Oh,
yeah.
Brutal.
After that, the Najeela player then proceeds to win with 0 interaction from the rest of the table. The Rogsai was mostly quiet for the rest of the game, and when they did talk, they were clearly frustrated. The instant the Najeela player had won, the Rogsai player left the game and disconnected from the Discord. So what do y'all think? Was this a spite pact that merits the salt, or just an unfortunate bad read on my part?
It's hard.
I just want to know what they thought. What did they have that like they could interact with, but something had to be on the stack?
What did the Najeela player have?
Mindbreak Trap, right?
Well,
Maybe?
it would have to be Flusterstorm or something, because just putting 1 spell on the stack isn't going to do it. Because Mindbreak looks for 1 person casting 3 spells.
Yeah.
It's not
Mindbreak's
just
not gonna
3.
get you there.
It's not Storm. Was there a rock at the beginning of that turn or anything in the description?
There's nothing said in the story that we received, but there could
it wouldn't matter
be.
anyway. Yeah, it wouldn't matter anyway.
I feel like putting the offer is just a safe move. I mean, maybe it felt sort of like, well, let me just pitch this pact because it's going to get countered anyways.
Yeah.
That's the move I would have made too. I don't know. I don't think that the Rogsai player is unjustified. I'm very curious as to what the Najeela player had and was doing.
I feel like the Najeela player was doing, as we like to call it, a very expert speech play, and was basically like, oh yeah, I got something. Put something on the stack,
I think so too,
dude.
because they just disappered at the end of the story.
Yeah.
They said they had something, and then they were absent for a middle part, and then they come back in and won.
Yeah, it's like they just didn't put anything on the stack. They were like, oh yeah, I have something. Just put something on the stack, and then they passed.
So in cEDH, that is actually something that can kind of make me like salty, is when people are not communicating enough about what they're trying to do. Like, I've been in that Rogsai player's pants plenty of times, and the same for the Najeela player. Like, I've definitely been in both of those situations where I've been in like, well, I wish that y'all had talked a little bit more about this, because this person didn't have to just win. Like, I don't know. I disagree with Rogsai just going in on it with nothing to back it up either. I don't know. There's a lot of questionable parts to this.
Well,
Yeah.
It does feel like a bold move to just be like, yeah, I'll just use the pact. Like, when you know you can't pay for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a bold move to just slap
that's
that
where
down.
that player has to be like, Najeela player, tell me what you have. Because that's not an illegal action. That's a request. The Najeela player can say no to that. But like,
and then you have to offer.
there's no way I'm going to put that pact
probably,
on the stack that I can't pay for if I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Because the flip, if you don't think there's interaction, you just offer. But if you think there is any and you offer first, your pact is useless in your hand after the fact. So it's like, it makes sense from that.
Then it truly is a spite pact after that.
I think that the Rogsai player is probably not salty at Pact player. I think they're probably salty at the Najeela player.
I would think so as
my
well.
read from outside.
Yeah. And I don't think that this counts as a spite pact by any means. I mean, I think...
No. You thought something much different was going to happen.
Yeah.
You didn't intend to do
couldn't
that.
pay for your pact.
Yeah.
Did you spite yourself? Like,
this wasn't like fuck you so much, I'm gonna kill myself too with this pact, and
well,
we're
maybe
both
it was.
gonna
They
lose.
didn't say yes or no to that part, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I do think this is one of those situations in the game where the amount of hidden information makes this socially awkward also.
Yeah.
Like, if at the very end of the game you reveal, okay, I had offer, I thought I could counter it. Like if you all talk through that and then Najeela player hangs out and is like, oh, well, I had this deflecting SWAT, so I thought I could help out if there was a counter war or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's a moment where perfect information comes down and everyone's like, okay, yeah, you all made sensible plays. That's a lot less salty. But as soon as someone, like we talk about this all the time, as soon as someone makes a play that looks just super fucking questionable, it's pretty painful. And someone spite playing, in theory, like just chucking out a pact, definitely is going to look like that no matter what, unless you have that post-game discussion.
I think it's important to definitely like one reason that keeps me from being salty from a lot of situations in Magic playing is that I tend to come to any situation where I give my opponent the benefit of the doubt. Like I don't play with a lot of like distinctly bad players. So like if someone makes a play that I would deem like questionable or super sus, like my first thought is always they know what they're doing and I don't. Like they know what's in their hand, they know what's on top of their library, they know the lines that they're playing towards, and I'm doing my own thing over here. So like I'm going to trust for the most part that people know what they're doing. And I think that's an important part to not getting salty, especially in these scenarios where it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like you said, like it's really great to have those situations where you can sit down with everyone after and be like, what was in your hand, Najeela player? I gotta know. Because I'd be dying. I'd be screaming the whole fucking time we were playing that game anyway. I mean, like, Najeela player, show me that fucking hand. What's in it?
I think the Najeela player is the true villain here. I don't think they had shit. I think they were like,
I don't think they did either. I think they were the best player, though.
Yeah, definitely.
They got the dub, so it seems
they're
like
you counter it, and I will just
100%. Yeah, they Jedi mind tricked you, and then they activated Najeela and won the game. Like, doesn't get any simpler than that.
Exactly.
You want to use your interaction.
Also, like, I mean, the Najeela player probably was also expecting something to get baited out, and then was like, I'll counter that. You know?
Yeah.
But like you said, a deflecting SWAT or something like that, that's really only effective against that counter spell that's being used to protect the consult. But hey, you'll never know. And I think that's a problem with online play too, especially because when people do get salty, they can just be like, fuck it, I'm out. Whereas a real life game in person, you know, they at least have to pack up their stuff and you can be like, wait, let's talk about it. It's not just a click of the button.
Even if they do go outside for an angry cigarette, they're going to come back and you can be like, hey, what happened in that last game?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they can't just like teleport out instantly and you're left confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not a spite pact.
It is also one of those moments where like I feel like Spell Table should have the preamble that judges give in front of EDH tournament or like a cEDH tournament where they're like, people can lie to you.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do that. That's within the rules. We can't enforce that. Because like this falls well within that purview. Like someone can say bullshit. It is on you to figure that out in order to know what spells to play.
Like if you have a pact in your hand, like, oh, use your pact, I'll counter it. I promise. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing I immediately thought of is that this is legal but frowned upon. Like,
no one likes to be lied to.
Yeah. And like, extremely a great move to do if you're playing with random people online. If you're playing with like a dedicated play group, they're going to be like, you lied last week. And, you know, you're not going to do that much. You're not going to be able to do that too many more times.
Yeah, that's the thing is I feel like the repercussions for lying, like that karma comes back real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can lie your ass off in a tournament where there's benefits and you win a bunch of money because winning a bunch of money rules. But if you're just hanging at the LGS for fun, like one, what's the point of lying? Because it's not making you a better Magic player. If you're keeping track of your record, I guess you can inflate your points that way. But like, yeah.
What do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
It's like bewildering salt. Like I feel like someone, like a magician, just walked up to me with a fistful of salt and like blew it into my face as like the prestige for a magic trick, and I'm just left a little salty, but mostly just confused at what happened. And I will just say, I feel like it should be repeated that the person that wrote in, Sam, our buddy here, is not at fault. This is not a spite pact. Does not qualify.
So. No.
Just a bad read on the situation. And, you know, I think things just broke in a weird way. Where
not even a bad read. I think just like miscommunicated or maybe not communicated enough.
Yep. You had the faith in mankind I want to have.
Yeah. The high salt here for me is your Rogsai opponent just raw dogging a Thassa's console. Like, that makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because the part that makes me mad about that is because I know that player has done that before and has won off of it. And so you're just, perpetuating that. I hate that. But it's not, my anger is not at the Najila player or Sam, the caller here.
I think if I'm either Sam the caller or the other player who I'm not remembering, the non-Roxai or Najila player.
Yeah.
I think both of them are entitled to like a half packet assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And again, like we were talking about, without that post-game chat to kind of like explain thought processes, you're just kind of left confused. And I think often when someone has a pact go off and they can't pay for it, and it kind of like, fucks up someone else's day, you're left feeling like a villain a little bit. You're like, did I do that wrong? Because I got knocked out of the game and I fucked someone else over. Like I squashed down 2 players and one was myself.
This is the number one reason to cut Pact from your blue decks, by the way.
Honestly, I have cut it from some of my decks.
If it's not like a fast combo deck, I'm not super into it anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty much off of it because it's just pointless in your hand for the first few turns.
100%. If you're playing like a mid-range deck and you've got Pact of Negation in your hand, you've got 1 fewer cards in your hand. Like this is not a card you're ever
going to use. What are you guys talking about? You can fucking spite play people. Like,
yeah.
Do you miss the point of the fucking story? Like,
you can pitch it to Force of Will. That's the big upside. Or a Chrome Mox.
Yeah, there you go. It's a great Chrome Mox target.
Do you want to give us another one, Sam?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hit 1/3 post right here. Let's round it up.
Let's round her out.
This one comes to us from another patron. Mustache Wax is their handle. And the post is titled, Nekusar player was my first salty encounter. They often are.
Sounds right. Yeah. Sounds right.
I feel like that's pretty common.
They always start with, I'm going to make you draw cards. And you're like, sick. We're going to be friends.
Nope.
Yeah. Then they're like, get fucked.
All right. And the post goes, hey guys, new patron Mustache Wax here. Thanks for the laughs and giving me something to listen to during my work days. Hey, You're welcome. Thanks for the support.
I hope you say well twirled.
Yeah.
With your wax.
I hope you're waxed up and looking fresh. So the story goes. So this was my first encounter with someone, a complete stranger, salting off and scooping in a casual game of Commander. It was a dude who was like 20 years older than me, and seeing someone behave so childishly was honestly almost funny enough to make the memory a pleasant one. Good. Yeah, I feel you.
Understandable.
So game 1, this Nekusar player was setting up his draw punishing engine. A Karn Silver Golem player was doing fun artifact creature aggro things, and I was setting up my board with my Elminster token polymorph deck. Player 4 was playing Gix. So it was getting to the point where the artifact player was suited up with the Shadow Spear and is poised to take out the Nekusar player, which makes total sense given that they were getting heavily punished on each of our turns for drawing. The Nekusar player seems upset that he's getting attacked so much and hasn't been able to develop any blockers to defend his very punishing board of Nekusar, Cataract Parasite, and Underworld Dreams. So the Nekusar player scoops at instant speed, denying the life gain from the Shadow Spear to the Karn player. This did impact the outcome of the game directly. But that was only setting the stage for what happened in Game 2. The 3 of us were kind of put off by the instant speed scoop, but not enough to say no to another game. That was a mistake. That was a mistake, Mustache Wax. So we started another one, and I don't remember it going very differently, except the Karn player was much less of a threat this time around. I spent the first few turns ramping and making some tokens, not doing anything super threatening. On turn 5, the Nekusar player casts Curiosity on his Nekusar, then tries to resolve a wheel. I was last in turn order, so the other 2 players pass priority to me, saying they can't do anything. And I go, okay, I cast Pongify on your Nekusar in response to the wheel. In my opinion, this was the most reasonable thing to do and expect, but not to this guy. He shakes his head and says, I don't have the patience for this, and packs up his cards and playmats. And I was actually so concerned I did something wrong, but the other 2 players were very nice about it and assured me that I had acted totally reasonably. I'd read about things like this happening on the subreddit so many times that, in hindsight, I can't believe that I thought I did anything wrong. But it was just so jarring to see someone react so badly to a play that didn't even kill them, just stopped them from winning on the spot. Hopefully this wasn't too long-winded. It wasn't. If you guys feel free to read it, feel free to paraphrase. Nah, I didn't. Cheers from New York. Mustache wax.
I have a quick
Cheers.
question for Sam before we delve into this. Would you have felt differently about paraphrasing had they written that first?
Probably not.
No, because how do you paraphrase it unless you read it first, right? You would have had to like read it and then like go back and like.
Sometimes for guest episodes, I do read through some of the stories to make sure we got like, you know, some good like conversation starters going. But I rarely paraphrase. Even the really, really long ones, I do read them in their entirety.
Nice. Okay, good.
Sometimes I will paraphrase them if they like say something kind of whack in there. Anyways, this is kind of like a classic scooper to me, but I do I specifically the line, I don't have the patience for this. It is such a good one, such a frustrated adult line.
I think that
love.
clearly ties in so hard with the thing they started out with, which was this person was like at least 20 years older than them. This person is at the end of the rope in a way that you cannot fucking imagine, listener. This person has had such a dog shit week in life. You cannot imagine that. Yes, this is the last thing holding them on is this fucking Nekusar wheel, and your Pongify is it. I'm out of here. I'm not trying to justify the Nekusar player at all, but I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've all been like this deep in, you know, the sadness of the week where you're like, man, a little magic will cheer me up, and then you're like, fuck, I'm just getting fucking crushed at every
I forgot
turn.
that this game fucking sucks.
Yeah.
How did things get worse? I did not think things were going to get worse.
But no, I think the caller had the right idea of just like, you recognize that this is an absurd scenario.
Oh yeah, 100%.
What can you do but laugh? Because that's just funny.
Also, like casting removal when there's a wheel on the stack with a Nekusar out is always the right move.
Yeah,
that is like
it's the only move.
Yeah,
like, if you
exactly.
have it, you do it.
Yeah,
There also doesn't even need to be a Nekusar out or a curiosity in order for removing something before a wheel goes off to be a reasonable thing. Like sometimes you're just ditching your hand, but then there's two more reasons that you want to be casting it in this game. So definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's even more reason. You're totally right, because it's like, I'm gonna lose this thing, so I might as well fucking use it at a minimum. Like
Pongify something. Might as well.
Yeah. And then let alone like what are you supposed to like Pongify your own dork or something? Be like, you know, there's a Nekusar over there, but threat assessment tells me I should get rid of my own shit.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll Pongify this other thing and we'll all just lose. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Unless you look up at this person and, you know, really see the light starting to leave their eyes and you realize that they need a dub just to like make it through the week. Then I think it's okay to flub your Pongify or just hold it, you know?
Even then, they shouldn't be playing Nekusar. That's not the way. That's not the way to make that happen.
I think, caller, you made the right decision 100% of the time. You always Pongify there. Why wouldn't you? It doesn't make any sense not to.
Yeah.
You just play your cards. I don't know. I said that thing that I said earlier about, you know, biting my tongue, holding back spells sometimes, but like in a casual each session, if this person has already preemptively scooped in a different game, at that point, I might even just lean in and just be my petty little butthole self and just be like, oh, I'm going to target you just a little bit. Here's this Pongify. Enjoy that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I don't know. Nekusar is a tough deck. I feel like if you are bringing Nekusar to the table, you need to understand that you're bringing with that deck, like just the most notoriety a commander can have. Like there's a handful of commanders that if you mention it, people are like, yeah, that deck probably sucks.
Yeah.
It's Narset. It's like all those classic ones that everybody's fucking made a billion of them. Yeah.
It seems like this person is maybe used to like playing in the sort of meta where people aren't really interested in playing a lot of interaction in that form. They're like Wrath of God or nothing pretty much, or like Cyclonic Rift or nothing pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you come up to a player and they're like, oh no, I've got a Pongify for sure. What are you talking about? Yeah, no, 1 mana interaction all the time. That can make people so salty in a way that it's hard to comprehend, because I'm a person who loves to play interaction and always has. So like I've always been a fan of going against Nekusar because I'm like, cool, like I get it. I'll take the damage and draw the cards, but like I got answers. I'll draw into them. Let's do it. Yeah. So if you're that other person, you're like, wait a minute, answers. What do you mean? I'm supposed to draw 27 cards.
I'm supposed to steamroll you guys right now.
For real. What do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
I mean, the Nekusar player was maxed out on salt, right? Like,
totally, yes. Like that person is a living. Have you played the latest Resident Evil Village?
No.
I think my wife played it. Is that the one with the big lady?
Instead of zombies, they're more like fungus spores. Yes, it was the big sexy vampire lady.
Yeah.
So now they're more like fungus spore monsters instead of traditional zombies. If that Nekusar player was that made out of salt for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they're a zombie wizard of salt.
Yes.
I feel like I was gonna reference Stardew Valley again when you're like fishing and you hit max on the rod when you're casting your line out. Like that's this player right now. He just hit like max salt. And then he got the fish on the first try, and it was like perfect. You get that little message. It's like, yeah, dude is fucking salty. That is how it's defined right there.
I love it, man. I love that kind of salt. I do want to just shout out the other two players who are absolute like champs. Like sometimes we have these stories where, you know, somebody feels like they did something wrong or like a salty thing happens at the table. And you see these like heroes at the table who hang out and they're like, no, it's all good. You did the right move, and like comfort that player. I love to see that shit. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Play more games with them.
I think it's natural in the Pongify player's shoes to be like, oh, like this person was very upset. Like maybe I don't get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
It doesn't take a hero to gang up against a Nekusar deck, but you like to see it.
And they say that a hero.
Let's go.
Oh man.
Is it speaking of things, is it that fucking time of the week?
Ooh, I think it is that time of the week, Tony.
Fucking laying on me. What time of week is that?
Time of the week that comes every week.
Every fucking week, baby.
It's the time of the week where we say, Mike,
Mike.
what's the salty card of the week?
The salty card of the week this week.
Salt is what I want you to feel when I'm stacking out the board. On your turn, you can't do anything. I guess I must be having fun.
Oh, okay.
The less you can do, the better.
I still don't know it.
Only casting one spell a turn. Oof on the board and living plain. It's okay. I know you feel salty. I got plenty of time.
I'm petering out.
Know what the fuck this is?
What is this? Talking
What
Heads.
song is this?
This must be the place by Talking Heads, which was a request from our patron, Adam Jeff. Adam, I hope I did you justice, man. I was practicing this all day, man.
It's a hard one. You did a valiant job because that is a difficult vocal line to try to hit with all of those weird made up magic words.
Did he provide the lyrics, or
I'm also
is
so
this just
interested
your
to know
homage to the fucking Marath Discord?
I fucking wrote that shit, man.
You
Eat it.
wrote
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes more sense now. There's just so much Marath in there that I was like, this has to be.
You deserve a larger cut of the profits from this episode than the other two hosts.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was, like we said, this is the place by Talking Heads. And there's a lot of lyrics in there about like how you have plenty of time. I kind of petered out and there's a lot of like pauses, but I petered out before I even got to the line where I talk about how I see the light leave your eyes. So,
did you rewrite the whole song?
No, I took it from the beginning to like maybe like the first like minute and a half.
So you did like verse chorus.
Yeah, verse chorus.
With maybe
basically.
a pre-chorus in there.
Like what all karaoke should be. One verse, one chorus, done.
True.
I thought that it was
that's
a
a
much
hot take.
weirder way to describe it, the way Sam did, where he just said a minute and a half, and I was like, that could be anything.
It
could just be the intro.
Is that all instrumental break? I don't know.
Yeah, there's just like 30 seconds of instrumental break because I've been listening to the song all fucking day. So, anyways, Mike, what is the salty card of the week?
Well, thanks, Sam. The salty card of the week this week is Gaia's Cradle.
Ooh.
Very
Solid
interesting. Very interesting.
I get it.
It is a land. It's a legendary land, in fact.
Ooh.
Tap, add green to your mana pool for each creature you control. So, yeah. Sam, how do you feel about Gaia's Cradle?
It doesn't make me salty. I do think it's one of those cards that, like, if I saw it in a very casual table, I would kind of be like, what are you doing, man? You know, it's not like one of those cards that you put it in a deck and it's immediately a super powerful deck, but it is extremely expensive. And because of that, I think that garners some salt because it's sort of like, I don't know. And it's one of those signpost cards as well that sort of is like a Mana Crypt or something like that. It's like an indicator of higher power, but not explicitly bringing higher power just by having it in a deck. I think situationally it gets me kind of salty. I love to play it in cEDH.
Yep.
But I can see why it's on the list, but it is a little surprising.
Tony?
Yeah, it feels it's like untouchable expensive. You know?
Yeah.
It's like over $1,000 or something, I think. Like,
I think it's just $800 right now from what I see. Just
my
800.
mistake.
A mere 800.
Just 800.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that is probably what generates the bulk of the salt for this card. Wizards is never going to print it again. It's just there, and it's like fucking expensive.
Mhm.
And like the reason Sam is like, I'll just play in cEDH and I don't care is because we just proxy in cEDH. And so it's like, it just, which is like chill. It's like totally fine. But I feel like that is the difference. And I totally agree that if I see it in somebody's casual deck and they don't own it, I'm kind of like, I feel like for me, I don't know why. It's just like it makes me saltier there probably. But
yeah.
In general, I think it's all around the cost of this card, not even really the effect of what it do.
Yeah.
What it do, Yugi? Yeah.
Yeah, what it fucking do, Yugi. What it fucking do.
Dan, what do you think?
So in my play group, like when I was just hanging out at the LGS, I was the first person in the LGS to get a Gaia's Cradle. So I first got a gold border one, and that got some of the hairy eyebrows from people. They're like, that's not quite real. I don't know how to feel about it. This was also like back in like 2014 and 2015 when proxies were not as unfrowned upon as they are now.
Yep. And
then actually getting a Cradle, like there was more legitimacy, I think, to running it in the deck. But yeah, like we said, like the price disparity of it and like the accessibility issue is a huge thing. So like I was the only one who had a Gaia's Cradle, and I totally understood that like when you play your free Black Lotus, like everyone is well within the rights to be like, boo, fuck you, you suck. It's just like, I totally get it. I had the spare money to get it and I wanted it. So like, that's my right to own a Gaia's Cradle if I wanted to. This is also, I'm thinking back when it was like $200. Like I bought a gold border one for like $40. And then, the black border one was like $200. So when you said 800 right now, I was like, oh, maybe I feel differently. I don't know. It's a huge fucking amount of money. I like that. I don't know. Everyone is entitled to spend whatever they want on their Magic cards. But yeah, like if you're playing it with a bunch of people who don't play Gaia's Cradles, like you're lopsiding your deck to a certain degree. I would suspect, like you said, it's like it's an indicator of a higher power deck. It's not necessarily a translation of higher power, but they're not so far apart from each other.
It's also one of those cards that I feel like garners a lot of salt, like we're saying, because of the price and the exclusivity. But it's also one of those things that like I almost don't even want to run it in casual decks, because I feel like if I drop a Gaia's Cradle, I have become like a big target on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And the mana I'm getting from that probably isn't translating to enough value to help me like get through that position. Like sometimes you drop a card in a 4-way commander game and like you're like, okay, this is going to make me a threat, but this is also like my combo piece and I'm going to pop off and I'm going to win. And Gaia's Cradle can be a combo piece, but in like a casual game, usually it's just getting you a shit ton of mana, but other people are going to see it as a bigger flex, a more problematic card, and I would hazard to guess that you'll probably get unfairly targeted for it. So it's almost like, is the benefit even there to play it?
For sure.
There's also the effect of like land destruction is so frowned upon that like there's I don't know, I would always play Ghost Quarter and like Strip Mine because Strip Mine was cheaper than Wasteland traditionally. I don't know if that's still true, but I would always play a copy of both of those in my casual decks when I first started playing, because like it wasn't necessarily Gaia's Cradle, but people run powerful lands and things like that. But I don't know, I felt like I was mostly the one doing it. I don't know that a lot of other people were really keen on it, so I feel like you can really go unpunished for running the Gaia's Cradle and that aspect of it, and makes you like a much higher target in that regard of like, well, the only recourse I have against you making an 8-drop every turn is punching you until you're dead.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like a lot of these other salty cards, it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, you can counter it. You can deal with it in some way, or you can remove it, whatever it is. This is like the things that hit this are super narrow and much less likely to be played in an environment. So
I actually recently had a Wasteland on the battlefield and somebody had a Sarah's Sanctum, but I didn't want to pop it because it felt bad to do that, even though it was definitely the correct move to like get rid of this ultra powerful land.
It's not great in 4-player when you're strip mining yourself to like take resources away from someone else. I got yelled at a bunch on Twitter recently because of the card from Wilds of Eldraine that's I said strictly an upgrade to Generous Gift, the one that gives you a 1/1 instead of a 3/3.
Oh, yeah.
So casual Twitter shit all over me for that. And they're like, you are out of your fucking mind. This doesn't hit lands. And I was like, well, like if your opponent has a Gaia's Cradle, you know what they're going to do in response to you targeting with that? They're going to tap it and then spend the mana on a big thing. Like even like targeted removal like that, like doesn't always necessarily translate to you like getting rid of those problems, especially with lands, because for the most part, you know, just tap them in response and use your mana. Or if it gets around to that person's turn, they draw their thing, like you probably already tapped it and cast an 8-drop.
Yeah, and there's so few lands that really warrant that kind of response that I feel like when you're deck building, you're like, does this go in? You know, Ghost Quarter starts to feel pretty bad when you have like a high color deck and stuff like that, and you need those pips. So it is like a tough choice. I think a lot of people are on like just always run Ghost Quarter or at least one kind of thing like that. But there are some situations where I still choose not to.
I don't think it's really worth it anymore.
Yeah.
I do think like running a Beast Within or a Generous Gift, something that can hit a land. I think Beast Within can hit a land. Ooh.
Yeah, Beast Within can hit a land.
Okay, nice. Cut my self-doubt. We're positive. We know what's going on.
I'm going to turn the volume up on it.
Nice, even better. I think that is warranted.
Mike, does this make you feel salty?
So I actually feel very salty about this card for a completely different reason than you guys, which is it's always the land that I draw in my otherwise perfect hand. And it doesn't produce any mana for me.
Yeah, it's coaster, as we call it.
Yeah.
So that's the other big reason that I have a lot of salt about this. And I'm only playing it on a proxy. I can't imagine like rolling up to my game store. I just dropped $800 on a land and then I draw it and it does literally nothing.
Yeah. Let me tell you, as a person who has done that, does feel like you feel like a fucking idiot being like, here's my Japanese Gaia's Cradle that makes 0 mana.
I wish it was a forest.
Pass the turn.
That's pretty awful. But I don't know. I think this is one of those cards that I think helps me make the pitch for cEDH to people. It's like these cards exist. They do cool stuff. They do cool broken things, and they're way too expensive. So you should be comfortable being able to play with these cool, interesting game pieces without needing to like sell your car. You know, you sell your used car in order to get this. So
that's generous, Mike. Your car isn't worth that much.
My car is literally not worth a Gaia's Cradle right now.
Maybe a gold border one.
Maybe a gold border. Maybe.
I think we've mentioned this in a couple prior episodes. We've mentioned like cycles that have like shitty cards. This is also a cycle that has like a couple really shitty cards.
It's a wacky one.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Shivan Gorge
cycle.
has seen cEDH play. You shut your mouth right now.
Yeah, that's it. The Shivan Gorge.
Shivan Gorge.
Oh man.
And Tolarian Academy is so busted that it's banned.
Yeah, I do love Tolarian Academy a lot. What is the black one, though? The black one is total horseshit, isn't it?
So the total horseshit one is the red one, which is the Shivan Gorge.
No, that we've already discussed that's a cEDH win con. That's good.
It deals 1 damage to each opponent. It doesn't even make red mana, which I think is fucking wild.
But neither does Gaia's Cradle.
Makes 0 mana.
Well, exactly. It makes 0 mana.
But it can. I think it's Phyrexian Tower is the black one.
That's also from Urza's Saga, but that's an uncommon. Isn't there a rare one? Maybe there isn't.
Shivan Gorge could be a win con.
Yeah, you got to blanket with Wargorge's Dragon a bunch of times.
Yeah, Wargorge's Dragon. You just fucking win.
It is Phyrexian Tower. Yeah, it's Phyrexian Tower.
It is Phyrexian Tower?
Yeah. I finally went to Scryfall. I don't know why I was fucking around on Google like an idiot. The cycle of legendary lands in Urza's Saga is Gaia's Cradle, Phyrexian Tower, Sarah's Sanctum, Shivan Gorge, and Tolarian Academy.
Okay. Yeah, Phyrexian Tower also doesn't make... Like, you have to sack a creature to get 2 black mana.
It makes it colorless, though.
But it doesn't inherently make mana. Its own.
Yeah, it does make mana. And Shivan Gorge also makes mana on its own. So, really, those are S-tier lands.
Yes. That's why Shivan Gorge starts with S.
Phyrexian Tower is only like $22, and it's been reprinted a surprising amount.
It hadn't gotten reprinted in so many years when it first got reprinted. Now it's been reprinted like 1 million times, I think.
Shivan Gorge? 45 cents.
That's on the reserve list, though, I think, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
Make it. I think like
it just got reprinted.
They put the good ones on. Yeah, it was just reprinted in a.
Don't look at me. I'm a MTG ambassador. I have no idea what comes out.
It was in a Dominaria United Commander deck. Well, Mike, where does this sit on the EDH Rec Top 100 Salty Card list?
Well, why don't you tell me? Where do you think?
37.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
37? Wow, that's so fucking wrong. I'm
I feel
gonna
like people
guess.
be salty about it.
I'm gonna
because they
guess.
like can't afford it.
Can you?
I think it's all about money.
Can you be quiet? I'm gonna guess.
Actually, wait, maybe. Okay.
You can't change your guess. What do you say? Some
But let
bad
me think,
number? You guessed a bad number, right?
Yes, 37.
All right. Well, yeah, a fool's number. I'm gonna guess 73 and really flex on how well I know the
Ooh,
list.
the reversal.
This is the EDH rec salt
Yes,
list.
Yeah.
top 100.
Is like Atraxa still number one?
Oh, Atraxa is deep down on the list. No, number 1 is Stasis, number 2 is Winter Orb, and number 3 is Static Orb.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with those as a guide, I'm gonna say Gaia's Cradle. We're gonna say 89.
Tony actually gets it.
Get
What?
fucked,
is-
Sam. Get fucked.
On
Yeah.
the dot?
No, not on the dot. It's
Okay.
30.
I wish
It's
that would've been even
31.
better.
It's
Yeah,
31.
bitch. Yeah,
Wow,
bitch.
that's super high.
Fucking
Yep.
suck it.
For a land, it doesn't even do anything.
Yes. Yeah.
It's 31.
We already discussed how it
Dude.
doesn't make mana.
Let's see. The only land,
That's
the only
ridiculous.
land higher than it. Do you guys want to guess the only land higher than it? We have covered it on the show, so it's
Strip
not
mine? I don't know.
totally.
Yeah, Strip
No.
Mine Wasteland.
Caracas isn't legal.
What land
Caracas
is
isn't
filtered?
legal.
I don't even know, dude. I don't remember
And,
anything.
and
from
it's
Evolution.
also, I'll give you a hint. It does cost more money than Gaia's Cradle as well.
It costs more money. Oh, Tabernacle?
Yeah,
Oh,
Tabernacle.
I was playing against the Tabernacle of Pendlevale.
I like forget that's even a land, man. Like,
Yeah.
It's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't make mana.
it's barely a land. It barely qualifies.
Yeah. There is one other interesting thing about this that I want to call out, which is that 6% of decks in EDH Rec have a Gaia's Cradle.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So what
That's
that
interesting.
says is people are brewing cEDH these days, you know? Like, is there
Or
not
everybody's
6% of
slapping it in their
commander
fucking
decks?
casual deck.
No way.
Well, the thing is, it is in the stock high cost mana based package in
Yeah.
Moxfield for any deck that has green in it. So if people are just building a deck and then like pulling in that stock list and they have green in it, they're going to get a Gaia's
Mhm.
Cradle in their list. So I think because of that, it probably does skew. Like every green deck in cEDH has a Gaia's Cradle in it. I'm sure there's one out there that's like cute, and they're like, we don't need that or a Soul Ring. I can't think of any.
Me neither. Well, that wraps it up for the salty card of the week. Thanks for playing.
Thanks, Mike. That was a lovely salty card. And thank you, Dan, for coming on and hopping on this show with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. This was a great time.
So if people want more of that Moderately Anonymous MTG content, where can they find you?
The best place to find me right now is on youtube.com. If you've ever heard of that, Moderately Anonymous MTG is the YouTube channel. I know that is very many syllables, but I promise you that you can type it in. Google will help you out. Normally you can also find me on Twitch, but I'm on a bit of a hiatus during the month that we're recording this, which is November. A little peek behind the curtains for the listeners there. Yeah, next month in December, you can probably find me on twitch.tv again, same name, Moderately Anonymous MTG, and usually live there every Wednesday and Saturday, but that schedule remains to be seen. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled there. If you want to follow me on the socials, because I'm real funny and cute, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, kind of. I'm technically there, but I don't post a lot. And I think I'm also on Blue Sky.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. You are our first Blue Sky plug.
I saw that in my apps the other day and I was like, what goes on in here? Oh, it's just like all content creators talking to each other.
Yeah, sometimes I get a notification for it and I'm like, what is this? Like, I should probably post something there.
That's how everyone
I
feels.
feel like it's all just content creators being like, I should post here more often.
100%. It's everyone doing the content rounds
Yeah.
over and over again. It's like Twitter's toilet.
It really is. It unfortunately is. Also, if you guys haven't yet, follow Dan on Moxfield, because Dan's one hell of a brewer. And we didn't really talk about it, but Dan was one of the people that turned me on to $50 brews and really trying to like crack those open, which is something that we've talked about on the show a lot in the past. So go check it out. Got some really cool lists on there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I brew all sorts of different like casual and cEDH, and there's some other constructed decks and things like that on there as well. So yeah, hit me up on Moxfield. Same name all over the place.
Well, thanks again, Dan. And thank you to all of our lovely patrons that have tuned in, especially our Salt Packet Plus tier patrons. And I'll shout them out right now. Rothbox, Bobo Fett, Sam Power Gamer, Clearbrook, and Captain Cross. Thanks for supporting us, guys. We really appreciate it.
Pew, 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 pew.
And of course, thank you to all the prospectors who tune in every week to the Howling Salt Mine podcast. If you want more Howling Salt Mine in your life, check out our Patreon. In addition to the lovely shout outs that we do in our show, we also have bonus weekly content in the form of our stray grains, which are all the tangents that don't make it into the final cut of the show. You can hear us talk about our beards and putting mayonnaise in your hair in one from this episode. You don't want to miss that.
Yeah, you don't.
And we also have our monthly show, Extra Salt, that comes out where we kind of break away from our typical content and do some more of that classic Magic content, talking about cards that we love, doing deck techs, doing Q&As and shit like that. Hop in the Discord. It's a good time. And if you want to check out some of our higher tiers, I will send you tokens every month. And at the higher ones, I will even draw you custom tokens at your request every single month and send them to you. You can have little drawings from me. They're really cool. Check out our Instagram. We've been posting them and shit like that. If you have a salty story that you want featured on a future episode of The Howling Salt Mine, send it to us. Send it to our Gmail at thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com. You can also submit it on our website that I mentioned earlier in the episode, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com, or DM it to us on any social media. All of the roads lead to Rome, and we will get that, put it in our queue, and, talk about it eventually. Also, if you haven't yet, another way to support the show is to buy our merchandise. Oh, did you think I was going to talk about giving a 5-star review on Spotify? Nope. I'm talking about merchandise. Our Bonfire store, we got shirts on there. We also sell custom dragon sleeves with the Howling Salt Mine logo on it. But also, if you want to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice, that is appreciated. And it does help us stick out in the algorithm and people can find us in the wild. Lastly, we got to shout them out every single week. Our amazing podcast artist, JD Burnett, for gifting us our beautiful podcast art. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, hit him up and get a tattoo. He's a really cool guy.
10,000 subscribers are bust.
Hell yeah. On our way. Gonna get those tattoos. Right, Mike? Mike is enthusiastically nodding. You can't see it at home. He's jumping up. He's jumping for joy. Oh my God.
Oh my God, Mike, be careful.
He told me in private he's gonna get it as a chest tattoo to just cover his like whole chest. So we might need to like boost up the funds for it because it's gonna be a big piece for him. But
wow, yeah.
Gonna have to trim the hirsute for that.
Yeah, I mean,
multiple sessions.
Yeah,
we should probably start that at a much lower subscriber count. So by the time we hit our goal, you'll be doing the final session.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Well, one more time, Dan, thanks again for joining us in the Howling Salt Mine today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you all as well. Peace be with you and also with you.
Nomini Patria Filia Spiritu Sancti.
Your spirit.
And as always, folks, stay salty and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Fucking laying on me. What time of week is that?
Was that the song already?
That's not the song. And I'm gonna do something I've never done before. I'm gonna play this in my ear while I'm singing it.
That's great.
Wow.
Wow.
How the mighty have fallen.
I'm so professional. This will all get cut. No one will ever know.
It's actually bullshit.
It's just a song that I don't
even want to do it anymore.
much.
Can we just skip? Mike, just read it. Just don't even
So
give him a chance.
No.
What do you think it was? The top 100.
62.
Nice.
Winning.
That's not nice. What am I saying?
Close enough.
Pretty close.
Just give me a second.
Oh my God. Man in front of a guest. This is ridiculous.
This is so funny. The anticipation is killing me right now. I'm literally on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to see what the fuck is about to happen.
Well, it's kind of it better be fucking good now.
He's he's getting into it.
They're never gonna give you up. What the fuck are you bopping?
I don't know. It's gonna be a bop, I'm sure.
Like it.
I think I got it.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, so Phyrexian Tower, or what is it again? Phyrexian Tower? Sorry, I heard you and then immediately forgot.
I can tell. Appreciate your patience at the beginning. Apologize for being late, but yeah, this is awesome.
Not a problem at all.
It's a problem. I hate you.
We always just shoot the shit.
Well, that's why I apologize, you fucking asshole.
That's a good blooper. That's great. Especially one where you insulted Tony. That's A tier. And sometimes we talk about butts and nuts.
That does not need to be in the episode, Sam.
Well, too bad, Mike.
I'm so glad that both of your co-hosts were like, "Excuse me."
Well, Tony gave an excuse me in a supportive way, and Mike gives it in an unsupportive way. It's kind of the dynamic that we have here.
Yeah, well, it's if I lean in hard enough, I know it either becomes a blooper, is a funny bit, or gets edited out.
Do not lean into the butts and nuts. That's how you get pregnant.
Yeah, I am not.
Yeah, that's how you get pink eye. Well, shall we jump into our first story here? I broke Tony.
Got him. Zinger.
See, my goal is to reference the bit enough where then it has to stay in. And then in the notes later on, when Mike is editing it, he says, "Can we cut this?" And then a few lines later, he says, "Oh no, we keep referencing it. It can't be cut." And I'm like, yes.
All right, Sam. Yeah, let's listen to one.
Nice.
As someone who also edits their own show, very clean, very impressive.
What a clean and professional take.
Very professional.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's jump into this first one.